Welcome, welcome for episode 2 of visual brand, creating a brand guideline. In our last live, we had such a nice session where we were talking more on the typography, layout, composition, types of logo, and what you need to know about everything concerning that. So, for today, it will be a short session and we'll be talking on how to build the visual brand. And when it comes to build a visual brand, you need to understand your brand style, like your style guide. And in this session, we are entering in the construction phase. This is how you need to know everything about the brand style, about the visual brand, the interface of your brand. And this is where your brand needs to stop copying others. And that's what we call generic. The brand should be generic. And your brand guide is your constitution. You must keep that in mind. That your brand guide is your constitution. And without it, your brand becomes a dictatorship. And when it becomes a dictatorship of this random design, then definitely your brand will fail. So people love that line because everyone has seen such a chaotic directionless design before, and that's what you need to understand so as you can able to avoid that in your brand or in your company. So this when creating this visual brand guideline, there are some rules you must able to follow, and some of these rules you must able to abide with are I'll start with the logo rules. What you need to know about these logos, what they usually speak about, and a brand guide, it usually defines how you use your logo. That's the thing you should be able to understand. How to use your logo. And how to use your logo should come first. And how not to use your logo. These are things you must be able to keep understanding which come first, which one should come, which should follow. These are things you should be able to understand. The minimum size. What is the minimum size of a logo? What size of a logo should have? And when creating a logo, there are types of logo. Like the main logo is about 1,000 pixel by 1,000 pixel. That is the standard logo that is well created and it is mostly used. That is a standard type of logo. Then we have the another one maybe for letterhead, for those other things. Letterhead and then website header. So you must be able to understand the minimum size of a logo and everything considered. Then what about the spacing of the logo? These are the logo rules you must be able to know. What about the spacing? And what about the version of the logo? Is it wordmark? How is it about it? Like, how can you explain this type of logo? Then what about the background? Is your background solid? Is it gradient? These are things you must be able to know in defining what your logo should be. Then what about the placement? The placement, it matters a lot. And a logo is like a signature. You must keep that in mind. Use a logo as a signature. If everyone signed it different, I'll use example. If anyone signed it different, then what will it mean? It will stop being recognizable because people have signed it different. So logo is like a signature. Keep that in mind. You should never forget that. I'll use example of this Apple, and it is well mostly known like Apple company. Their logo it can only be used in black, white, and or metallic. If you're able to see, no rainbow versions there, except historical, but no rainbow version there. You can see the spacing is clean. If you've ever been keen, the spacing is clean. and it is not stretched. I'm sure you have been able to know something about that. And avoid putting the busy backgrounds. Busy backgrounds is one that it actually delays. When it comes to logo, it will not make them feel okay. So we'll talk about the Safaricom logo, a well-most local brand here in Kenya, and most people know about it. It has a tick or a swoosh, and that thing, it must never be rotated. That swoosh, it must never be rotated. It has never been recolored, if ever been keen. Consistency of those things. Or the edges, it is not too close to the edges. What about the brand guide? It controls everything. So which brand it always look premium? It makes the brand to look premium. I'll use another example of Nike. Nike is a well-known, it is most known in shoes company. We have never been keen about this thing, and it is mostly used exactly as it is. But people think like they need to be tilted just a little bit. But Nike will make sure will sue you. Actually, don't ever try. Nike, that's what it has positioned them in the position they are today. Then I'll use another example, colors. Colors is another thing to consider. How to build your visual brand. You must be able to build the colors in a position that this color belongs to someone. You should avoid mixing primary color, shades, everything. This color, they should communicate more of your brand. You must consider that using colors in a consistent manner. It position when explain how brand structure guides everything. These secondary colors. Local company again, most known, it uses, I'm sure it's red. Yeah, red. Maybe if everyone can check, it is red. Red, so this specific red. And that's why if you've ever been keen, it makes calculators position them in a place that it is look same everywhere. It looks that worldwide. There's no company that look like that of Safaricom, of that Coca-Cola. No one, because no company or no brand that one mark of Coca-Cola, that red. And then what about Safaricom? What does Safaricom use? Safaricom. We type in the comment section in the chat box. We see what's the Safaricom, the Safaricom that use as we proceed on. So Safaricom, yeah, it's green. Safaricom uses Safaricom green color, and it is not just a random green. It is not green. It's just Safaricom green. It's not a random green one. It is regulated green, and that's Lisa, they look undefined. Why? Because they have positioned their brand well, their colors communicate well. Everything that you see, it has positioned them in a greater place. Yeah, because of that color consistency, everything. That's what they are building themselves a well-standing brand and a consistent brand in our market. Another well-known company or brand is Instagram. If you look at Instagram, their logo looks like it is a gradient. It's a gradient version, and it has some exact stops and some angles and some ratios. If you've ever been keen, a random pin to purple. If you've ever been keen, that is Instagram, and that is what makes them there. So if you are building yourself a brand or a personal brand or anything, consider that about color consistency in your visual. It will make you better. Most of one will get things when it comes to fonts. Fonts is another one. There are these type of fonts. If you must be able to understand the heading fonts, the body fonts, everything. So when it comes to title, you must consider at least you should have the colors that fit well in titles. So that's what we call the color. Then what about the body text? You can never use it is mostly or it is rarely you can never find it used in scripted font. Maybe you find it used in body fonts. I really don't like. It is not mostly used. So that is another thing. Fonts position you well. So there is another one, and how big they should be. Fonts. This is another one. Fonts, how big should they be? If you're having maybe in a campus project or anywhere, this is where we see this thing. You find in a position where like the fonts given is about 12 pixels, mostly used in projects, everything. That is mostly used font size when I'm referring to fonts. What about the spacing? Spacing same too matters a lot when creating your own visual brand of Google. I'm sure some of you have ever been seen Google, and Google they use a Roboto font. I'll say it is a Roboto font and or a bit of sans font. Not it is sans serif font. That Google it can never use any random color or not any random color and any random font. Why? Because they have created themselves, their brand, they have created themselves, their brand ecosystem is they have used that robot of font. So when you see something like that, definitely you can able to recognize that this is Google. Then there's another brand called Jumia, most known, and this Google it is another brand, and it used this type of font. It is geometrical font, which it has some angels like ankles, and which it matches the star symbol at the middle of it. You can see it has a star symbol, and that's what I'm referring the power of font. Font communicate personality, and this random font it has random identity. So you must consider that. Use fonts that communicate well to your brand. It will position you in creating yourself a visual brand that is well, like it will position you in a well positioned manner. If you're another one is the grid system. Grid system. A grid system can determine if your brand can be alive or it can be dead. So remember that grid system or this grid, it is just an invisible structure. It can either keep your layout to be so consistent and balanced, and at times it cannot. So without grid, you must be able to know this. Without grid, design may look chaotic. No doubt about it. That is it. Without grid, design may look chaotic, but with grids, even simple designs they look professionals. You ever been keen? You ever been somewhere or Apple website? You have interacted yourself with this type of website called Apple. Where's well most positioned actually the Kenyan market. And if you ever been keen, it has about consistency of 12 column grid, and everything is aligned perfectly. And that's what it is making them one of the best in administering the services, the service brand. And then what about the newspaper? Let's use as something example that it is a bit realistic. You can able to know about it. Imagine a newspaper to be structured to be there. So consider that in when you want to build yourself a visual brand that will stand out in late 2025 to 2026. Think about that. What about Instagram carousels? This one is another one. The Instagram carousels, it's These are the clean one. They are the clean. If you have been keen, they are clean. It is modern and it follow grids and not vibes. Not vibes that you find them on Instagram. So that is the thing that I was talking about, the grid system. How good the grid system is, what you must be able to know about the grid system, and what does it work, and how can design be without a grid system, and how can design be with a grid system. So consider that and work on it. Another one I can use example. I will proceed to another one. In creating your visual brand, you must have your image direction. Image direction matters a lot. So, image tone, the image that you upload there, maybe in your website, what is its tone? The editing style. Do you know that image communicates something? It communicates a message. So, this your image, it communicates something. You may have your main subject, like if you have an image, your image, it may tell you something about your brand. And so consider that use of image tone. Image tone communicates well and may enable you to create something that is so visual. What about the editing style of your image? The style that you have edited your own image, then that is another factor to consider. No doubt about it, but you must be able to, like, the way you style your image, the editing styles, it makes you well, to position you better. Then there's another thing, main subject. Main subject, in referring to the point number one that I've said, it's just like the image tone, in referring to the image direction. Then the type of lightning is another one to consider, the angles and the mood of the image. This one are the core or the fundamentals in creating the visual brand in 2025. I'll not leave behind examples. I usually like to use more examples so as you can grasp a concept in each. So I'll use another well-known company here, or mostly it is both locally and globally, that is Samsung. This set of Samsung, if you've ever been keen, it has dominated in our Kenyan market for quite some time, and it has really dominated our market in quite some time. And this Samsung, if you've ever been keen, it has some bold designs, futuristic, and it has some high contrast. So that is about our Samsung. So that is the power of image. If you see something that Samsung bold, it is something that is so futuristic. So the designers there, they were so futuristic. That's why the power of consistency matters a lot. It goes every time when you want to build yourself a visual brand. Then I'll not leave behind these Kenyan Kenyan fashion brands. Then just try a lot when it comes to the image direction. They try to use these warm tones, and what about this street photography? I'll not leave them behind. It is I'll use it as an example because it portrays that possibility of image direction. So that was all about the image direction. Then we have the another one called voice and tone overlap. And I'll start with the voice and tone. The voice of your company, the tone of your company. This is another thing you need to consider. So I like to use examples so as you can able to understand things when I'm referring to creating this visual brand in 2025. So when I'm referring to voice and tone, this is another thing. This voice and tone, it overlaps with your visuals. Safaricom. Safaricom, it uses green, and not a random green, Safaricom green. Green, when you see green, that is something that is warm, friendly. So that is something that it communicates, you can able to understand something. And what about their voice? The voice of Safaricom is simple, and not leave alone being simple, but it is helpful. Safaricom, and the fact that it is human too. So these are the things you need to know. The voice, when creating yourself a visual brand, you must be able to know what is my voice, what is my tone. Okay, so these are things you need to know or you must able to consider yourself when getting yourself into. Then Nike. I'll not leave behind Nike. I like to use Nike because on the other hand, it is well known. It is in our Kenya, it is in our market. So you need to know about that. Nike again, it's visual, it is dark, it is bold, and its voice actually it is too motivational. Think of that sushi. It makes something to be so motivational. It keeps empowering you. That is something that is so intense, and it is perfect match for us. And that's why you may find yourself buying something of the sort. So that is the power of voice and tone in relation to your brand. So that is the thing you need to know when we are referring to tone and visual, and it usually overlap with visual a lot because these are things we cannot leave it behind when we want to create something that will pop up in our market, will position you as a better in your field. So these are the things you need to know. You must not avoid it. You must work on it. You must work on it so as your brand can work well. Okay, so these are things to consider. And I'll walk you with the next one. Still on the same one, the tone and the voice. I want you to grasp a concept everything. As I go deeper, and I'll use another example of Java House. I'm sure some of you know like this one. This Java House actually it is so warm. They're visually just warm. And what about their voice? Their voice is cozy. It communicates something. You can able to feel it. This Java House. It has a friendly tone and it works together. It works. This tone and voice usually work together. So that's what I was trying to go deeper. You can able to understand what I'm referring to when I'm saying this. What you need to know about this. Everything start from the voice, colors, fonts, layout, everything. So it's how you can able to create yourself a visual brand. So that is the secret. You must be able to work on it so as you can position yourself as a better or you can position yourself in your field as an expert. So consider that. So when your style guide is clear, when your style guide is so clear, then your brand becomes scalable. You can never tell me if your style is not clear, then your brand it cannot be scalable. Where if you are yourself delivering so much in your visuals and it is so clear, then everything will going to be work because people love to see the first impression. And so remember that. And anyone can design for you, but remember that if anyone can ever design for you, then your brand should never lose its identity. It should never lose its identity. That's the key factor to consider about that. So when we talk about this part, I will not like I don't like to be behind. And I'll start with the truth. I like saying truth as a brand designer because that is my profession as a brand designer. Consistency is the currency of branding. Like if people can recognize you instantly, then definitely you can win. If people can recognize you that you are a brand designer, then definitely you have won. You have win. That is it, and that is what you need to consider. You may find some brands they feel premium. Why? Because of consistency. They position themselves in a way that, well, they have been consistent enough. That's why they have you find them, they are there. So remember that why do brands feel premium? You may tell me why do brands feel premium? As I explained. Okay, premium brands are not premium. Are you getting premium brands are not premium? Why? Premium because they're trying to say that then you must look to feel premium. Example, Samsung. Samsung started dominating in our market a long time ago. 2000 what? I don't remember. It was still dominating in our Kenyan market a long time ago, and it is still now still dominating. Another one is Apple, still dominating, always dominating. The power of consistency in visual branding. Then what about Mercedes or the Mercedes company? What do they do? It's a car dealer company, right? And what has made them to feel like? What has made them to be to the point are they today? Tell me if there's something apart from consistency. Is there anything that can position you if you are not making such effort of being delivering yourself, being there, consistency, making everything? Then that is the power of crafting something that is so visual consistent. Safaricom again, celebrating 20 years of dominating in our local Kenyan market. Safaricom, what has they made them to be in a position they are today? Pure consistent. They never like they have just been super consistent. And that is the secret of making things to be well, and that should them identical. So everywhere you see these brands, or everywhere you see Mercedes company, everywhere you see Safaricom company, everywhere you see Samsung company, the identity is just identical, pure identical. It matches them, and that's what they have worked for themselves. It has took them most of the time to reach the point where they are. So that is the power of visual consistency. It makes you well, it position you well in your field or anywhere you want to work with. So consistency is, remember that another thing, you can be having consistency, but you should have creativity again. And this is the this is the mindset shift. A simple design repeatedly, consistently, to beat a creative design project that it was just posted once. Consider that you must be able to know that a brand that repeat their colors, like this is example. I want to use this as an example. A brand that switch their styles every day, every week, it never grow. Can I tell me it can grow? It can never. What position you can able to see that when you see this type of thing, you can able to see that it's Safaricom, their logo. And what if Safaricom could be changing their logo, everything, their brand identity every now and then? Could they be the same they are? Not really. Samsung? Not really. So that's what we need to know. And this is where the mindset shift comes. Brands that repeat their colors. If a brand repeat their colors, then patterns and layout, actually they win. They will win because repetition, it builds recognition. You are building yourself a repetition. You must be able to know that this type of repetition is what it will build your self recognition. Then you must be able to know that we are humans. And what about our brains? Our brains love this type of patterns. The repetition, the more you repeat yourself, the more you create your self memory. Okay? So everywhere you look, another example, everywhere you look orange, that you may see that's Jumia. Everywhere you see, I'm sure Jumia is orange as the brand, the color brand identity. I'm sure something if I'm not wrong. Yes, it uses orange and some stars. So that's the good side of it. So that repetition, it has built them recognition. Even that's why you may find them recognized in the Kenyan market. So if you are just starting, remember that you don't need to start already to have your logo. So as you can feel like Jumia, you start small. Okay? You position yourself in a manner that you you are consistent, you have your layout that are consistent, your color that are too consistent. So that's what would make you well. So think about that. And a quick tip, I like to advise you more. You can at least pick about about three shapes, and use them for 6 to 3 months. You watch them, and people will start to recognize you because your brand before. That's what we called branding identity. And this is how brands are built, not through creativity, but through repetition. Repetition is another factor to consider. No doubt about that. Consider that. Okay? Repetition. Working yourself on repeating yourself, positioning yourself in a well placed manner. Okay? So, there is common when you are creating your visual brand, there are these setbacks. You will just find them there. And we need to talk about them. The branding mistakes you need to know. And not leave it, you need to know. This branding mistake is another one. This is a final factor to consider. And I don't want you to solve because of you don't know this type of. This one I want you to know. I want to get yourself in this manner. You get to understand what I'm referring when I'm saying the common visual branding mistake. Mostly like, okay, the first one is fonts. Using too many fonts. Actually, that will confuse your brand. Can you explain? Can you tell me that you are using 3 to 5 fonts in one graphics, in one poster? You are using 5 fonts. Then what is that? That is visual noise. A poster, you have confused your poster with bold sans serif fonts and bold serif fonts, or bold sans serif and serif fonts. You have got there, you have had these cursive script fonts, bubble fonts there. Then you're definitely, will your audience able to read that? They won't be able to read. So that's the thing you need to know about that. Using too many fonts, it confuses your brands a lot. What about colors? Colors is another thing. I'll use example. You are using too many bright colors, and remember that using too many bright colors, at times it may look like it is cheap and amateur. I'll use example. I like to use example, so as whenever I'm talking, you can able to know what I'm referring to. And remember, you have, and another more colors like steel brown. What that it looks like a cyber cafe. That is something that it was created in 208. Yes, 208, from something that is created in 208. People are having to use so many types. That is something that is not really advisable to use when you want to create yourself a visual brand that will stand out. It will be so modern in the Kenyan market. That is another factor to consider. A red flag. If your brand doesn't have a green system, it's a red flag. So random spacing can have misaligned elements, cropped text, and this display the premium feel. Yes, it destroy the premium feel that you have created instantly. Remember, it just take your time to create your brand, simple time. But growing your brand, it take your time. So think about that. I've ever seen a poster where text is just floating everywhere. Texting up at the bottom, the typography can able to see that this thing is not well, like you can able to know that the design of this is not someone who understand what I was really looking for. No grid, that is something you must able to avoid, and use a well structured grid like that of such that is 12 grid. Okay, color. And color is a bit chaotic, and you'll bear with me with this one. Using, sorry, not color, copying. Like, wait, what is this? Come and will you tell me that that will work? Will it really work? Definitely it won't. Can you able to hear me? Can you hear me? Am I okay? Can you, if you can able to hear me, you may give me a thumbs up. If you are able to hear me, you may give me a thumbs up. Am I audible? Okay. I can able to see some reaction there, and I can able to know that I'm good to go. Okay. So let me get to the point where I was reaching. Like, you are copying your competitors. Copying your competitors, like I was using an example. You have yourself like a mini hotel, or something that you call it to yourself, like it's your brand. Then you copy your competitors, or you copy them their style. And this is example. You have this a new delivery app, a new delivery company, Glovo. Let me use of Glovo. This type of Glovo, maybe you have opened yourself with Glovo. You have opened yourself company similar to a brand or similar to Glovo. Then you want to copy them, their logo, everything. Then do that make sense? Then if you copy them, even about their logo, you may copy them their mode of work, but not their visual identity. Then people will be able to know that this is like a Glovo. So try to consider that, or a new site, CB Blue. What would that implies? To imply an instantly distrust. So just making things. So that's what we call designing with purpose. Designing without purpose. If you are just they look nice. This is the first and the easiest way to weaken your brand. A financial brand using playful colors or a playful doodles because they look nice on Pinterest. Now the brand feel like childish instead of childish. Let the play group or the children company use their their childish visual identity. So this is what we call designing with without purpose. You must be able to consider that designing the purpose. When I'm creating this thing, will it purely work for my brand? Will it really communicate a message to my brand? Will it? So those are things you need to consider when creating yourself a visual brand and able to avoid those mistakes in yourself in Kenyan market. So that's all about I was trying to understand. You must be able to understand the problems, things that manner. Okay, so I will consider. I will still on this that part of designing the purpose. I'll not like to leave behind gym. Can you use a gym color in a church color or a gym in a skincare brand? Or can you use something because of it is trendy in a school? Does it really make sense? Does it really communicate? Remember that design must match brand personality. That is the thing you need to consider. You must be able to know about that. So remember that that's why people get this wrong. Branding is not about being complicated. It's about being intentional. Then, so consider that. And if you're talking about, you staying consistent yourself in market and follow a brand style, you must be able to have your brand guide or a brand guidelines. Then your visual brand or a visual identity will become powerful. You'll get yourself more recognizable. You'll get yourself more profitable. So think about that. Okay. So when I want to create practical guideline, like what tell you how can you do to in so you can able to like what you need to do so as you want to get this in a manner that is more practical, or how can you build yourself a brand? How can you build yourself a brand? So when we want to build yourself a brand, these are the things you need to know. You have been working on the foundation. You want to able to know the foundation of creating a brand or building yourself a brand in this late 24. So if your vision cannot survive on social media, then it won't survive anywhere. Because in 2025, your brand lives on the screen. Every now people are there on the screen and not on the streets. We're now living in an era that everything is online. Okay? Everything is online. So you must be able to know that your brand must live on the screen, not in a traditional manner. So the first one, if you are living on a screen, you must work on your thumbnails. Okay, thumbnails. These are some graphics that it really explain. It gives a simple concept of what you want to explain to yourself. Like thumbnail, it explain thumbnail is not just decoration, but it is your energy. In this time, it is your billboard, it is your handshake, and it is your first impression that matters. I'll use example. I like to use examples. Mr. Beast, that guy. Mr. Beast. He like to use big facial expression plus bold text. What does it result to? Instant clicks. Go and watch his account, Mr. Beast. There's another on Ali Abdal. He usually use clean colors and soft lettering. It has earned him most trust. Then what about the local creators? The local creators in Kenya here, we have Citizen Digital or Citizen NTV. What do? They use simple bold text. They have the strong color coded backgrounds, and they teach well. They have big faces, big headlines. This is the thing you need to consider yourself. Thumbnail. It should have a big. It should teach something. It should have a face. It should have big headlines, high contrast, and it should not be too maximalist. Make it as minimalist as possible. Okay. So we have another one, the short branding, and remember that short videos. You must get yourself in short branding or short videos, use of short videos. You know that short videos they move very fast. Why? Why do you see that you may find yourself a long video is not algorithm of because the short videos pushed faster and people don't have patience anymore. Just 2 seconds, you are gone. Can someone be with them if you're not being with him? Definitely that is something it can't happen. So think about that. Work on short branding. Short videos move so very fast. People have moved in a anyway that they have lost their patience. That's why you see TikTok is always dominating. For short videos, some seconds you can find yourself, you have dominated yourself, TikTok everyone now and there. So that is the thing. So I'll use another one is story branding. I've talked about thumbnails, short branding or short videos. Then story branding. When I'm referring to story branding, this is what I'm doing, like what I'm doing at the moment. Stories, it feels to be more personal. I like to use examples. Influencers, they like to use handwritten fonts, filters, and minimal text just to feel authentic. Then what about a brand like Ice Drive, Safaricom, Netflix, and do they what they use? Do they use coded story slides? What does it teach? It tells that this story branding or stories that these people have to be things that are so human, so generic. So use your colors, keep it soft, keep it real. Brand story branding, like the one I'm doing at the moment. Then there's another thing, post rhythm or the post branding. This one is simply you must be able to know that your feed is not just your random post. It is a rhythm, a pattern, a heartbeat. And I'll use an example. I'll use example of Canva or a Canva brand. Account alternating colors here and then so that the feed can be so intentional. So that is another thing. You can alternate between text post, photos, text, and carousel post or reels. This is another one. Post yourself in the media so as you can able to people can able to know what you know, and you must able to stick to your shapes, color patterns, everything about that. And the template system. This is the third thing. The fourth thing. The template system. Actually, they're not lazy. This is the brand consistency you need to know. I'll use example of Shopee. Shopee is just like Jumia. Shopee it has it uses orange color, and it has some same font and clean layout always. And if you design every post from scratch, if today you start designing every post from scratch, you lose consistency and strategy. So this is a thing you need to know. Your template system must communicate something. Okay, then the text hierarchy. Another one, when I'm referring to text hierarchy, this is another thing you need to know about this text hierarchy. The first thing people like the viewer reads, like viewer like should not really the first. Like it should not be the smallest on the screen. It should be something that when they see on the eyes, they can definitely click to. They can grasp things faster and can able to know. They don't I strain themselves on their, like they don't strain their eyes a lot. So text hierarchies matters a lot. You must be able to understand that your headline should be a bit of largest, should be just largest. Your subheading or subtext should be medium. Then details should be smallest. So that's how the text hierarchy should be. You can never use your heading with the smallest text. Does it really make sense? It does not make sense. Then you have reciprocated the value that the headline should use the smallest thing. Then that is something that you need to know. Okay? So this type of psychology, and this is gold. You must be able to know that this type of psychology will help you to yourself create something that is so visual in building yourself a visual brand. And I'll be honest with you, people nowadays they don't scroll slowly. People are not scrolling slowly. They're scrolling like they are hungry. They have big headline. So if you have something that is big headline, visible, and they're scrolling fast, you have the red and black, red and white, new and green. Like I'll use example of Safaricom. And Safaricom does this perfectly when it comes to contrast because they build themselves in color that it's well positioned itself in a well positioned manner. Color, Safaricom, and most one of these most brands. Okay, so there is another thing: emotion in photos. A photo at times it can display some wide range of emotion. It can make you happy, it can make you surprised, it can make you confident. And this flat expression, they don't stop thumbs. It can make them people to stay to watch instead something that you're advertising. So, what is that one clear message you need to know? You don't try to five things in one design. You must get this thing well. Don't try to say five things in one design. Just say one thing, but in a powerful manner. Say one thing in a powerful manner. Okay? So, when it comes to real time brand evaluation, then the part you need to know when it comes to real brand time evaluation. So, in real time brand evaluation, there's this color discipline. This does your brand use one main color consistently? Does it? Color display. Just one color consistently. What does Safaricom use? Green, one color consistently. Airtel, red, one color consistently. Jumia, orange, one color consistently. So tell me any brand that uses 10 colors and they have really dominated in the market. Tell me, rare, you won't find them. So one color or a color discipline may position you well. Then there's anything, readability. Can I read your text at arm's length? I'll use example. We have this type of Gucci type of brand. They use huge type Gucci. They're not about Nike. It uses bold and clean. Then in this part to find that Kenyan person often fail because of too much text and zero spacing. Spacing I have not talked about, but that's the thing you need to know. The color spacing. That is the thing. Then we have the cohesion. Do the elements match? You must be able to ask yourself, do the elements match? Starting from the colors, starting from the fonts, the photos, the layout. That's the thing you need to know. When your brand uses a dark or a moody photo, but it uses a playful yellow font, then definitely it will feel like two different brands that are fighting each other. A dark, moody photo. Then on the other hand, we have yellow, but it is too playful. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. That makes that two brands are fighting each other. And that's what we need to know about recognition. If I remove the logo, can you feel the brand? Can you? I'll use example of Glovo. Glovo uses neon yellow or yellow, mostly it is yellow or something of the sort. So this neon, this Glovo, that color is as they position them to where they are, and it is recognized. Does make them to be recognized. Then what about Spotify? Spotify, it has Spotify, it has some green and some circles stretched a bit. So that is what it has recognized them. If you see something like that, definitely you can able to know that this is Spotify. Then there's another one called Netflix. Netflix, it uses red and black and cinematic shadows. This it has given them a simple movement tips. So these are the thing it has make them recognizable. So reduce your fonts, stick to two to three at the most, 2 to 3. Then build yourself a simple grid. Repeat your elements often and then use recognizable shape. Work on that. Then definitely come here one day, you'll tell me the result. These are the simple improvement tips you need to work if you are creating yourself a visual brand that you need to stand out in 2025. Consider that and you'll explore yourself in a manner that really works. So this is the thing you need to know when creating yourself something that could work and could pay you well. So see, here's my signature challenge. I'll not leave you. I'm coming up to my end of my life, and it's all I've used is about an hour and something of the sort. So you may have take yourself about 3 months for a 90-day brand and discipline challenge. I want you for in the next 90 days, commit yourself. In the next 90 days, you may commit yourself, use one color palette, use one font or one font system, use one photo style, one layout rhythm. You'll be shocked. You definitely be shocked how professional your brand will become. And any brand that they stay visually consistent for 90 days will look years more premium than brands that change their look every week. Think about that, and I'm sure it will gonna work. And before I wrap up the session, before I end up the session, if you have any question you need I to respond back, you may drop it in the chat box before I call the session to an end. Something you need to know, something you feel like I have missed, or something that you want to know, maybe you want something that you want to ask something, then I'm here. Want to see any question? Okay, I can see no one is typing. So I can call to an end. And before I end, listen to me carefully. Your brand is not what you design, it is your logo. And that logo is not yours. You remember that your brand is what people feel when they see you. Think about that. So if today I've helped you to think deeper about your brand, please remember to subscribe so you may hit the bell button so you don't miss the next breakdown. This year 2025 is the year to take your brand seriously. Okay, so I've ended my live session for today. That was all about for today. Unless you have other question, you need me to respond to it.